Hey everybody, I know, I told you guys I was going to show you how to make this necklace and then I haven't, but today is the day I am going to show you how to make this necklace here. Alright, so what you need is you need some big petals like you did for the bracelet, but you also need some little baby size petals too, and then you need an assortment of beads to go up your strand. Now these can be whatever you want, right? And of course you're going to need your fire line. We've got fire line. And of course you're going to need your beading wire. So we've got some Beadalon here. It's 19 strands, 0.015 inches is the size that we're using today. We need to cut ourselves a piece that is 3 feet long. We don't really need 3 feet, but more is better than less. You don't want to get to the end and not have enough. Okay. We're going to start by making this center flower here. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 12 of these large petals and we're going to string them onto our beading wire. If you have done the bracelet version, this is going to be really similar. There are a slight difference in that we aren't coming straight out the sides. We need this little bit of a, where he's down a little lower than these other ones. Okay, so once you have all 12 strung, you're going to grab the 2 ends of your beading wire and you're going to let all those petals fall all the way down to the center of your beading wire, like so. Now you're going to take one end, which is this one here, and we're going to go back through all of the petals to make a kind of a loop with the petals. Okay? Let's see if I can't string that on here. Okay, so now that you have it through, you are going to pull these down to make them into a loop. And you want to try as best you can to get it in the center. So kind of grab your ends so that you know where the center is and work this down till it's in the center like this, and then slowly tighten it on both sides, okay? Like so. So now we have a nice tight little flower. Now we need to take one side, and I usually try and see if one side is longer than the other. If they're both the same size, it doesn't matter which one you do. And we're going to go through more of these petals because we don't want both of them coming out the same spot. We want them coming out like this, where you have 4 petals and it's the we want it coming out like this, where you have 4 petals and then you have the beading wire coming out on each side of the 4 up here. So you have 4 at the top and you have 8 at the bottom. Okay, so we're going to go back to this one where what we were working on, and we're going to thread this through a few more. Now it gets a little tricky at this point because you have your wire shoved through your beads. twice already and you're trying to do it a third time. Now, like I said, you can only go you can go through a couple at a time if you want. If it tries to do this loop thing, untwist the loop. See down here by the base where it's crossed, untwist it like this, and then I hold it so it can't retwist. Oh, see, it's trying to twist again, and pull it through. Now you can do this a couple beads at a time, like I said. So I went through 2. I'm going to go through a few more, and just work your way around till you have it one coming out one side of the 4 beads and one coming out the other. Okay, so now we need a few little extra beads to go between the 2 flowers. All right, so I have a yellowish color. Now these are a 3mm faceted bead, and it creates a nice taper between the 2. So I'm going to put one of those. And then I'm going to put one of these silver ones, and I'm going to put one of these purple ones. Get a few of those. One of these purple ones, and then I think one more of these yellow ones. Oops, you know what? I think I might add some green first. All right, so let's do a yellow, a silver, we're gonna do a green, and a purple. And then I'm gonna put one more yellow one before I do the next flower. Just like that. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we are going to string on these petals for our next flower. Again, we have 12, and we're gonna string all of those onto your beading wire. And let them fall all the way down there. Okay, so now that we have all of these little petals, we need to do the same thing we did with this big one, where we take this tail end and we go back through all of these petals. Not these little beads here, just the petals. All right, and we're gonna make a loop. So let's thread that through all the little petals. Okay, so once you have it threaded through all the petals, you have a loop like this, and you need to pull it tight, but you need to pull it tight next to all of these beads as well. So try and kind of pull that here, and I hold it next to there and pull it. So we're gonna slowly work our way down to get this petals closed up into a loop. But like I said, you gotta be careful that none of them, you have to be careful that it doesn't jump away from these rest of these ones here. Okay, so now you can see I have my big petal here, and then I have this little one here. Okay, so now what I need to do, now that he's tight, pulled into a flower and he's tight against here, I need to take my thread tail and I need to go back through 6 of them, so I'm coming out the other side and I'm ready to string the rest of my necklace. It's going to be a little tedious, so don't be discouraged if it takes you a while to get it done. Like I said, you don't have to do it in one fell pass. You can do it through a couple petals at the time. Alrighty, so on this one, as you can see, I have 4 petals at the top here, and then I've done my little section and I've strung my flower. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing on this side where I string these beads here and do another flower on this other side. Alright, so the exact same thing. Alright, so once you have it at this stage where you have your center flower and you have your 2 side flowers, you need to add a second piece of beading wire to be the centers of your flower. So this piece is going to be, depending on how long you want your finished necklace to be. So I'm going to give myself, let's see, I usually like to add 2 inches to do the clasp on each side, so 4 inches plus whatever you want the finished length to be. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut it 24 inches, so you can make like a 20-inch necklace. Obviously, if you want to make it shorter, you can. All right. Okay, so what I'm going to do with this is I am going to attach it through this yellow one. So I'm not just going to sit it through the middle. I'm actually going to go through 1 petal on each side. All right. So I am going to take the one end and I'm going to go through this last petal. See how there's a petal on either side of the bead section? I'm going to go through this one here, okay? This is where it's got the 4, and this is where it's got the majority of them. I'm going to go through this one right here. Okay, so now we need to add our centers. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my new piece of beading wire and I'm going to go through these 4 at the top. The 4 that were spaced out between our little section here. Those 4 are the ones that I'm going to go through, all right? And it's a little tricky because everything's like nice and tight in here now. Okay. So I took my new piece of beading wire and I went through these 4 at the top, all right? So now I have my flowers on one and I have my cord that's coming out of the top 4 as another one. Now I need to add the center. I'm going to get my center bead. Which I could do purple or I could do pink. I'm thinking I like this big purple. So we're going to do purple. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of those cords again that's coming out of its top 4 petals and I'm going to string my purple bead on. And then I'm going to take the cord that's coming out the other side and I'm going to cross it and I'm also going to put it through the purple bead, but I'm going the other direction of where the first one went. Okay, can you see that? See, it's coming, making a loop, and it's going to sit right there in the middle. Okay, let me push these kind of out of the way. So there is my center, I'm going to pull that, and now what I need to do is I need to take this cord and I need to run it up through these beads into there. I also want to make sure that this is as close to being centered on my cord as I can get it, because I don't want to get to the end and have like a really short piece on one side and not be able to finish my necklace. This is why it's also good if you give yourself a little extra, because then you have a little wiggle room that way. All right, so I have him in the middle there. Now, like I said, I'm going to go through these ones. This whole flower part in the front is the tricky part. Once you have it all strung, the stringing the rest is easy peasy. Sometimes I like to take a pair of like chain nose pliers and grab the wire that I'm trying to push through the beads and help myself push it through the beads that way. And then I can grab a hold and pull it much easier. All right, so I've taken that new piece of beading wire that I added to this middle flower and I've come up through these little beads here. So now I'm coming above my two new flowers. And again, I'm going to put a bead in the center, like so. And this one I don't need to string through any of these petals because he's going straight across. There's 6 petals on each side, where he has the 4 and then he has the, let's see, 3, 8 at the bottom. All right, so once I put that in the middle, then I'm going to string both of these cords. I'm going to take both of these cords and I'm going to string the beads that go up the chain, like on this one, on both cords. And sometimes these are not the same length. So at that point, I will clip them so that they are the same length because it makes it easier to string. Okay, clip off that little tail there. And now I'm going to decide on my pattern and string that. All right, so after playing with a few different patterns, I decided to go with a 3mm yellow, a silver, a green, a purple, a 3mm yellow, a silver, a green, and the 4mm purple, and do that pattern up both sides. So when you go to do this side, you're going to do it the same way, where you add whatever bead you decided for the center onto that cord. You're going to take both cords, clip them so that they are the same length, and then string the same pattern. And you're going to string that up both sides, and then you're going to do the crimps. So I will show you how to do the crimps once I get this all strung up. I'll see you guys in a bit. Okay, so I have my flowers, I have all my beads strung on here, and now I just need to crimp off the ends. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take both ends of the tails and I'm going to string on 2 crimp tubes. All right, 2 crimp tubes, and then I'm going to string on half of my clasp, and I'm going to go back through those 2 crimp tubes like this, okay? Do you ever watch yourself on video and then realize that you say something all the time? Now that I've been recording videos for a while, I keep hearing myself say, okay, okay, okay. All right, so once I have it strung like so there's a loop around my clasp, I'm going to make sure that these beads are pulled tight up next to here and up to my clasp. I want my clasp to be able to move, so you can see there's a little bit of a wiggle room there. And then I'm just going to take my flat nose or chain nose pliers and squash it. Squeeze it nice and hard. Squash those crimp tubes, all right? Make sure that they're nice and crimped. All right. A little like metal piece on my crimp tube. Alrighty. Once you have it crimped, you're going to take your wire cutters and you're going to take that flat part of your wire cutters and you are going to put it as close to the wire as you can get it. Make sure you don't clip the wires that are going in here. You'll have to start all over again. There you go. Clip it off, and that's how you attach the clasp. Now we're going to do the same thing to this other side. Alright, so let's do the same thing to this side. We have our 2 crimp tubes. We are going to string them onto our beading wire. Make sure that both tails go through each crimp tube. Take our other half of the clasp, string it through that loop there. Fold those tails over and push them back through these crimp tubes. Okay. So once that they are through, you can sometimes grab it with your pliers and it helps you to pull that tight. Again, make sure that this section is pulled all the way up to your flower. There's no gaps there. Leave a little bit of space for your toggle to move freely. Take your flat nose or chain nose, come in and squash those nice and tight. Like to flip it over and squash it on the other side as well. Make sure that it's crimped really good before you take your wire cutters. Go in as close to that crimp tube as you can get it. Again, don't cut these wires. Be very, very careful. Snip it off. There you go. Look at that. You have just made a flower necklace. Look how cute that is. So I've got this one. This one here matches the kits that we currently have on the website for the bracelet. I will be offering this for sure as a kit. Tell me if I should offer this colorway. Alright guys, thank you for watching. Bye.